Hi, everybody. It's Gene Simmons, and you're not, and you're listening to the Potter Than Hell podcast with Steve, BC, BB, and Dylan. But you knew that, didn't you?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Potter Than Hell podcast. This is your last stop on the crazy train of hard rock and heavy metal. So sit back, buckle in, and hang on. Here we go. Hello, Potter Than Hellions, and welcome back to the Potter Than Hell podcast. I'm your host this week, Dylan, joined this week by...
BB.
And the other two, BC and Steve, are currently sailing the high seas. Once again, we are tasked with coming up with an episode without them. We always are put to work when everybody else is on vacation, so what can you do? How's it going, BB?
Good, buddy. I think they're going to be a little jealous of this one. You know, and I can honestly... see down the road your dad saying, I want to do an episode like that and throw out a band or two. So, I can't wait till he listens to this one. I think he's going to really, really enjoy this one.
Yeah, the FOMO is going to hit real hard, I'm sure. So last week we had on Aaron Martell, formerly of the Ridiculous Rock Record Review podcast, currently kind of semi-retired from podcasting. We had him on to talk about doing a 6-pack of epic Iron Maiden songs. That was one that, I think it was the first time in a while that all four of us were in the room together, so that was great. But what did you think of that episode, BB?
Yeah, I love when we do Iron Maiden. It's one of those bands, they have such a big, humongous catalog, and we don't cover them enough because, there's just so much stuff out there.
Yeah.
But I love when we do that, where all four of us are big Iron Maiden fans. So it's almost like doing a Kiss episode, they're like a foundation band for all of us, and just talking Iron Maiden with Aaron and good times.
It's one of those bands that you really don't need to do too much homework for when we have an episode about them, because I just was like, okay, these are the songs that I want to pick. I know them. I know all these other songs, so I can talk about them. I'm set.
Right.
And honestly, Iron Maiden would have been a very good band for this episode. And I mean, they've kind of done that with their, Somewhere Back in Time and the Time Machine tour.
Yeah. But
not as the structure that we're going to do it. So I didn't want to pick Iron Maiden because then we would have been doing Iron Maiden twice in a row. But I think the bands that we did pick are very, very appropriate.
Right.
So what have you been listening to this week, BB?
Just the other day, the UFO released a deluxe edition of You Are Here. It's an album that came out in 2004. So when I saw it, and I'm like, it kind of perked my ears. But then when I looked, I'm like, oh wait, they already released this. But I listened to it anyway. A couple of songs on there that are good are Wild One, Get It Up. UFO is one of those bands, from the 70s, early 80s. I always enjoyed listening to, and this is just one of those albums you can just sit, relax, listen to it, rocks out. Just a perfect album, just to kind of chill with.
Yeah.
So it's called You Are Here.
Very cool. UFO, always a great band, great guitar work.
Sure.
Michael Schenker, of course, kind of started there.
Yeah, so 2004, I'm not 100% sure, who's in the band at that time because, in 2004, we're not listening to UFO.
No.
But, they just remastered it. It has to be this week because I just saw it on there. And I had to listen to it. But, definitely good stuff.
Very, very cool. Well, in addition to the out-of-format stuff that I'm listening to recently, I decided to take a deep dive into Coheed and Cambria's catalog again. They have basically all their albums tell one big story, so it's fun to go from the first album and follow the story out. So I started with the Second Stage Turbine Engine, or Second Stage Turbine Blade, I believe the album is called. It's a weird album title, but very different from like their more modern stuff, and it's very fun to hear Claudio's voice being so high on those early stuff because he's so young.
Right.
And it's always nice to compare and contrast with what they're currently putting out because they just recently put out a new song and a re-released song as like a double-sided EP where the re-release song was a song that they had on one of the Batman video game soundtracks that wasn't released to streaming because, sometimes the rights to those soundtracks are a little screwy. But that used to be back in the day where like they would have albums made that weren't in like a movie, but are inspired by the movie. Like I know there was one for like Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland, where a bunch of different artists put songs that were inspired by the movie, or the Nightmare Before Christmas reimagined. Like Korn is on and Marilyn Manson. But I wish that kind of thing would come back. But yeah, that's what we've been listening to this week. UFO with You Are Here, a re-release from 2004, we think, that may have came out this week. And I've been listening to Coheed and Cambria, the second stage Turbine Blade, featuring such songs as Time Consumer and Devil in Jersey City. Great songs. Okay, so this week's episode, I figured, BB, since the two of us are the most in tune, not necessarily right on top of it, but most in tune with Taylor Swift, seeing as you have a teenager at the house that listens to Taylor nonstop and has gone to see her, and I have a significant other that is obsessed with Taylor Swift, and I have also gone to see her. We decided to do our own version of the Eras Tour, but with different artists that we kind of know very well. So for those of you that aren't aware of what the Eras Tour is, which, I mean, it's basically been in the news this past couple of years. Yeah. But Taylor, when she, during the pandemic, had put out a bunch of different albums that she wasn't able to tour for. And once COVID kind of settled down and things started opening back up again, she decided to kind of celebrate the albums that she wasn't able to perform live in a way where she put her set list having blocks of all of her different albums from across the years that she's been around and playing a bunch of different songs from them. And over the course of dozens of legs of the tour and multiple sellout shows and local economies being boosted everywhere, and Kansas City football players heel clicking on stage. Did you see Travis Kelce?
I did. He was all dressed up in his tuxedo. Yep. He looked awfully dapper.
He was very dapper. Yep. We decided to pay homage to Taylor Swift by picking two significant artists to us to have their own Eras Tour. Now, our interpretation of that is up in the air, of course, but the main crux is to kind of do a career-spanning set list that pays homage and tribute to the different albums and eras of the bands that we decided to go with. So, BB, why don't you go first? Tell us what your band is and maybe give us a little insight of how you put the set list together.
Oof. All right. And of course, I picked Van Halen. I kind of want to piggyback off this Sammy Hagar thing that he's doing that myself and your dad will be seeing next month. Thank you, Jen. Again, Jen is not, Jen Roberts-Vanis. She's not able to attend, so we purchased her ticket, so we will be going there. Homedale, New Jersey, so I'm very excited to see that. I've seen little snippets of them rehearsing online and social media, so I'm really, really excited to see those guys. But I figured Van Halen pretty much be the easiest band to do. Also, it's this is probably one of the catalogs I know front to back, upside down, inside and out. So I figured I'd just throw this little set list together real quick. So Van Halen will be on stage for the first half of the show. We're gonna have Dave on vocals. We're gonna have Wolfgang play guitar. Okay. I know Wolfie's gonna have to step up.
Yeah. Now this is like their current situation.
This is like if they played today.
Okay.
Yeah, but they're playing today. This is going to be their set list.
Okay. So a realistic set list, not a Steve Wright pie in the sky. We're bringing Dio back from the dead.
We're gonna have Dio in BC sing in his backyard.
Oh God. Free beer.
I know, right? We're gonna have Wolfie's gonna have to step up. He's gonna have to do a lot of practicing to make this show. And then also on bass, they're gonna bring back Michael Anthony. Okay. I think they have to. This set list, this has a lot of Michael's signature high pitched background vocals. You have to have Michael in there.
See, I thought you were going to have Wolf do a dual neck bass and guitar.
Oh, yeah, right.
You were like, he's got to step up.
It's going to be a three-piece.
He's finger tapping the bass lines as he's...
And, of course, so I guess this can't be today. I guess it has to be 2 weeks ago because we're going to have Alex on drums, but he's selling all of his drums.
Yeah.
So I
Maybe
guess
he picks someone up on the way to the show.
Yeah, this will be the last hurrah before you can buy Alex's drum set and gong and stuff.
It'll be a Kiss situation where he sells each drum head to
Yeah,
an audience
he'll,
member.
sign it, boom, boom, sign it,
Throws
boom.
it out every song or two.
And then we're gonna have a little keyboard player. This one was tough because I figured, there are towards album 1984, there are some keyboards in there, so I just picked Derek Cherone.
Okay.
I think he has enough insight of Van Halen. He's been around a while. He's played with Joe Bonamassa, does stuff with Black Label. So I figured he'd be perfect to set in here, later in the set. Mm-hmm. So I kind of went as far as even like picking some kind of like a stage presence. So we're going to go back to 1984. We're going to have the big 10-foot striped amps that Eddie had on. I'm pretty sure that it's like in the Panama video. There have to be 10 feet high. And who knows? They could all be empty for all we know back then. Yeah. There's going to be the big, humongous Alex gong behind him, and the Hammerman. The Hammerman that used to be, I think, it was on the backstage pass of 1984. They had some banners that used to hang off of there. So we're gonna put them up there just to give it a little 1984 spin on it. But we are going to start with Act 1, and Act 1 is going to be titled VH1.
Okay.
We're going to start right. We're going to start right at ground zero. And I know this is odd to do, but I always thought Van Halen 1, I always loved if Eruption started the album. I think that would have been perfect. Wolf is going to start Eruption of this concert. We're going to get fucking crazy.
Yeah.
It's just going to be him, the spotlight, and he's going to do Eruption. The crowd will go absolutely bonkers. And then, of course, if you're doing Eruption, you have to go with You Really Got Me. I think they're the pretty much one hand helps the other. I think they go perfect together. The next song I think would be a really good one. Wolfie's holding that. It's almost like a freight train note. Then you got Michael Anthony's deep bass line with Running with the Devil.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And then to close out that act, that iconic riff start, when you hear it, you know what it is. They're going to close it out with Ain't Talking About Love. So that pretty much covers the Act 1 VH1. Then we're going to go to Act 2 with Women and Children First. We're going to do 2 songs from this album, I mean. We're going to open up this one with The Cradle Will Rock. Another song that has that iconic riff. When you hear it, you know what song it is. And then that good old tribal drum beat song of Everybody Wants Some. Always loved that song. I can see Alex just beating the shit out of his drums on that one. So then Act 3, we're going to just call it Diver. We're going to go the album Diver Down. And one of my favorites, even though it's on my least favorite album, I'm going to start off this little act with Hang 'Em High.
Okay.
Always loved that song. One of my favorites from the Dave era. And then, of course, to keep everybody happy, because, the Van Halen fans, they want to hear the hits. So we're going to do the 2 cover hits off of Diver Down. They're going to do Pretty Woman and Dance the Night Away. Mm-hmm. And that's going to end, Dance the Night Away is going to end Act 3. So Act 4, I titled VH2. Of course, for Van Halen 2. We're going to start this set with the good old drinking song, Bottoms Up. Great song. Then we're going to the next one, Heavy Rocker. Always love this one, DOA. One of my favorites off of Van Halen 2. And we're going to close out Act 4 with Somebody Get Me a Doctor. Everybody by now is partying hardy. Everybody needs a doctor. So that's what we're going to close Act 4 with. Act 5, I just named Warning. It's a warning. It's not a fair warning. It's a warning. And we named it Warning because we're opening up with this with Wolfie doing his thumb and finger tapping a Mean Street. Great opener. Then we're going to go to a little bit of a deeper cut for some true fans because, Wrighty's already pissed off because they did Pretty Woman and Dance the Night Away back to back. We're going to do a little deep cut from Fair Warning. We're going to do Sinner Swing. I always love that one. Great, great deep cut. And of course, when you're talking about Fair Warning, how can you not bring up Unchained? Great way to close that act. And then Act 6, I named 84. This is where Derek Cherone comes out on stage. He's got the Frankenstein striped keyboard, red and black, white stripes. He's sitting on the side, and of course, when you talk about 1984, we're going to open up this little act with Jump. Then he's going to stay on stage. Since he's already there, we might as well keep him for another song. We're going to go with I'll Wait, another keyboard-heavy song.
Yep.
Then my favorite from 1984, a nice little deep track for the true fans out there, Girl Gone Bad. Nice heavy one. Then we're going to close out Act 6 with the two biggest hits off of 1984. Hot for Teacher. Alex finally gets a little very small drum solo to start off Hot for Teacher. And then the party song in 1984, Panama. And right at the end of that, Alex will hit the last snare drum, and the banners of the Hammerman will drop, and there's a big old Van Halen thing, and it just lights up in flames.
Nope.
Like the old Van Halen thing. I think they used to do that back in the day. It used to be some pyro thing, and
that was before the fire marshals cracked down on it.
Yeah. All right, so Act 6 is over, so we're going to do a very, very short little stage change. But while we're doing that, one of the roadies brings out one of Eddie's Van Halen Frankenstein guitars, and it's just a black backdrop and just one spotlight on that guitar, and we're going to play the song Crossing Over. It is an unreleased track off of Balance, and it's in like the box set now that they redid the Van Hagar. They put together an album in there. It's some unreleased stuff that they put on that album. Eddie wrote this. Eddie wrote the music for he had a friend that passed away, and then Sammy put the lyrics on top of it. It's a very touching song, so I thought that'd be a great tribute for Eddie. So while that's playing, the stage is getting all set up. And this is where Sammy comes in. Dave is done.
Yeah.
Now Steve is ready to pack up and go home because, Dave is done. So, of course, we got Sammy, we got Wolfie, we got Alex, and we got Michael. We got those guys on stage. And Van Halen, I'll call him Van Hagar, they never really had like a very pronounced stage for, being the late 80s, early 90s. They really didn't do a lot of stage stuff. It was just, pretty much blah. Mm-hmm. But there was one, I think it was the Balance tour. They had the VH, and then it was like the rings. So like they came up with, when 5150 came out, they redid the Van Halen symbol. They put the rings around it. So it almost turned into like an Iron Maiden stage. You know how like Bruce would run up and like the back would be a little bit higher than the front, and he'd come back down the ramp. And those outer rings were part of the Van Halen symbol. And if you look down at the stage, you could see the newer Van Halen rings with like the two stage ramps that were in the back.
Okay.
Like I said, they didn't do much for stage presence, but we'll do that. It's going to be a quick little changeover. So Act 7, we're gonna name FU.
Yep.
And of course, if we're talking about foreign lawful culinary knowledge, you have to start this set list with the drill song. You have to start it with Pound Cake. I think that would be a great way to get the crowd going, especially for the Sammy fans. I know the Dave fans may not. Who knows? Maybe they left.
Yeah.
Maybe they left, and all the Sammy fans are getting closer to the stage.
The stage turnover gave them time to get out of the venue.
Yeah. Another underrated song from from the For Lawful Carnal Knowledge album is Judgment Day. Love that song. Very underrated, I think. And then the two big hits from that album, if you're going to talk about that, you have to bring up Runaround and Top of the World. They're just iconic songs. They have to be talked about. Have to put them in the set list. And then act number 8 is going to be my acoustic set. This is where we'll have a red piano come up out of the floor, striped, of course.
Yeah.
And we're going to have Zakk Wylde play piano. Because this was another one. Like, who can I get to play piano? I'm like, you know what? Zakk plays piano. You know, and I thought this would be a nice little tribute. So the acoustic set is only 2 songs. So it almost finishes off the FU act. This is the first song for the acoustic is Right Now. There's a video. It's from like a bridge school benefit from 1993, and it's just Sammy and Eddie, and all Eddie does is play the piano, and Sammy sings. It's really good to see how good Sammy's voice was in 1993. It was like spot on like album, and then we're going to go to a song off of Balance. It starts off with a piano, and I think this would kind of work out really good acoustic. Not enough. I know back in the day when Balance came out, they had a video for this, and it actually starts off with Eddie on a rooftop on a jet black piano. So I figured those 2 songs would fit really good in the set list. So, you know, the piano goes down, Zakk goes off. Act number 9 will start the Balance act, or the Balance set list. We'd open up. Sammy encourages everybody to light them up. We do a little Amsterdam. And then we're going to go to the 2 big hits off of this album. Don't Tell Me What Love Can Do and Can't Stop Loving You. The two big radio hits, video hits of that carry that album. Act number 10, we're going to go to OU 812. We're going to open up When It's Love. I have to throw that in there. That's the big hit. That's the big hit single from that album. Then we're going to go to my favorite song off that album, Mine All Mine, the album opener. Always loved that one. The next song, Song of Affection. I think that's one of Sammy's heaviest.
Source of Affection?
Oh, yeah. What did I say?
Song of Affection.
See, once again, it's like Lars.
Yep.
I just can't read. And I'm sober again. So, you know. Yeah, Source of Infection. One of Sammy's heaviest Van Halen songs. Then we're going to go to, it's almost like When It's Love's Little Sister. Feels so good. It's very, very heart-spoken song. And then we're going to finish the act with, of course, Finish What You Started.
Baby, come on.
Yeah. And Act 11, the very last act of this big wet dream, is from, I'm just going to call it 5150 time. And, of course, we will start off this act with 5150.
What's funny about that is if you add the digits of 5150, it comes out to 11. Because 5 plus 5 plus 1 is 11. So, BB.
There you go. See?
You're a genius.
It's almost like 13.
Yeah.
But I just didn't want to tell you. And then the next song off that act is Summer Nights. The great song off that album. Eddie, Wolfie comes out with his dad's Steinberger little square electric guitar, which is so cool. Then we're going to go on the Best of Both Worlds. And then when they do the Best of Both Worlds, they're going to do they do like a strut. Mm-hmm. When you hear the song Live Without a Net, they did this strut, and every time I hear that song, I probably play that concert so much on VHS tape, I can always see that. So it'd be cool if those guys did that. Then Derek comes back out to play keyboards again. Then he will do Why Can't This Be Love? Another keyboard heavy song. And then they will go into Love Walks In. I think that is the very first song Sammy wrote with Van Halen. And then the very last song, the closer, will be Dreams. And right as the song ends, we'll have the Blue Angels fly over.
I was going to say, you got the planes fly over?
We're going to have the Blue Angels do a little flyover right as the song ends. So that is my big Era's Van Halen dream set list.
Okay.
What'd you think? Did you have any...
Well, first, are you bringing Dave back out for a curtain call?
I was thinking about doing like... did they do like a Led Zeppelin song? Like the rock and roll?
Like rock and roll, yeah.
They
like the two of them singing back and forth.
They always did that. And then there were so many songs like they used to cover back in the Dave era, like before, like in the Mammoth days. And you know what? I think I'll just keep it with the Angels.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, that's a great way to end it. I think it's a very bold strategy to open with first a solo and then a cover. But I think the fact that you open with Van Halen 1 is like a very good decision, because that's that is some iconic factor right there. I think your song choice overall was very good. You cover very much all but 2 albums throughout the thing. No Gary Cherone love. I thought maybe you were going to pull out How Many Say I during the acoustic portion.
You know what? They do an acoustic version
Zach sing it.
of an acoustic version of Josephina, which is I'm like, I don't want to ruin the set list to bring Gary out. And then it didn't fit anywhere. I'm like, nah.
Yeah.
I'll kind of hide it.
No, I get you. And no different kind of truth, but I know that
Yeah.
I don't know if there was too many that I was like, oh, I can't believe that.
Well, I split it up in 20 and 20.
Yeah.
Because that would have been like 7 albums for the original guys.
Yeah.
I
think in terms of keeping it fair, you did a
we
good
did
job
2020. I didn't want anybody pissed off.
Yeah. No, that is a very good set list. I very much appreciate it. I love the bold strategy of having Zakk Wylde as a guest musician but playing piano instead of guitar at a Van Halen concert.
Yeah, exactly.
You're shucking everybody's expectations. They're like, oh, we saw Zakk around the venue. I wonder if he's gonna come up on stage and then do some of the solos. He's tickling the ivories. He's not flying across the fretboard. That's all.
We only let Zakk do dime solos. We're not going to let Zakk do the.
And I think that's probably for the best, because that it allows you to have Wolfgang be like, kind of live like his father's music, and it doesn't really take that away from him. Like, where you could have just had Zakk do like. I think that's the best way you could have done that with the current situation of everybody, retired, alive, dead, that kind of thing. So I think it was a very good set. And it's interesting because I would have done it very differently than you did it. So that's very cool to see the different mindsets on that. And I'm glad that you did represent both equally. Both the bigger eras equally.
Yeah.
Because I know that a lot of people would have been mad if you just focused over one or the other. So you're making everybody happy. It's the best of both worlds.
There you go. That's what we'll call it.
Yeah. And it's also different from the tour that they did. So like you're not just, copying what they've already done. So I think I think it was a really great job for your Van Halen Eras tour.
Nice. Thank you.
So we'll take a little break before we get into my Eras tour. And for our Gem song, I think we're going to take a song out of BB's playbook. BB, I'll let you pick. Do you want to do Crossing Over, or do you want to do that cover right now?
Let's do Crossing Over.
Okay. So from the Balance Vaults, we'll call it, Crossing Over by Van Halen is your Hidden Gem song to lead us into the Hidden Gems. Okay, that was Crossing Over from Van Halen from the unreleased tracks off of Balance. BB, thank you for picking that gem song, and I'm going to make you do a little more work. What do you got for a hidden gem this week?
All right, more Van Halen. I guess I'm throwing up Van Halen today. When I was kind of looking around for the acoustic songs, I know Van Halen didn't really do much acoustically, but I found these guys. They're called 40 Fingers. There's 4 acoustic guitar players, and they do jump instrumentally. It is really, really good. Great sound to these guys. And the more I search them, the more covers they do. So they're really out there. I've never even heard of them. I'm not even 100% sure where they're from. But the band is called 40 Fingers with Jump.
With Jump, okay. My hidden gem, and I'm calling it a hidden gem because it is not currently on streaming, and it has something to do with my artist that I'm going to be doing for my Eras tour. In 1982, Ozzy was in a transitionary period after the loss of Randy Rhoads due to an unfortunate plane accident, where he had Brad Gillis from Night Ranger on guitar. And this was right before Night Ranger formed, and basically Brad went from Ozzy to form Night Ranger with Ozzy's blessing. And in that period, between 1981 and 1983, they put out a live album called Speak of the Devil, which has all Black Sabbath songs, and funnily enough, they released it right before Black Sabbath put out their own live album with Dio, so it was kind of a combative release. And it has all, like I said, it has all Black Sabbath songs. You know, you got Symptom of the Universe, Snowblind, Black Sabbath, Fairies Wear Boots, War Pigs, The Wizard, N.I.B., Sweetleaf, Never Say Die, Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, medley of Iron Man, Children of the Grave, and Paranoid. And the band during this time was Ozzy on vocals and harmonica for The Wizard. He actually plays harmonica, Vince Neil. And Brad Gillis on guitar. You had Rudy Sarzo on bass, Tommy Aldridge on drums, and Don Airey on keyboard. So it's a pretty good lineup for this live album that you have to go to YouTube or have the physical copy of to listen to. So I think it's considered a hidden gem for that reason, not being on streaming. So there you go. There's our hidden gems. We have the 40 Fingers with Jump, the Van Halen song, and I have Ozzy Osbourne with Speak of the Devil. Okay, so my Eras Tour artist, if you haven't guessed from my hidden gem, is Ozzy Osbourne. And I was brainstorming who I wanted to do for this because there are so many artists that you could do it for. Like I said, Iron Maiden would have been a really good one. I think Metallica would have been a really cool one to do it for. And Rush kind of did it already with the 40th for R40 and R30. So they've already kind of done an Eras Tour. And I was like, you know, Ozzy has a massive catalog, and he has such a wide range of albums that I think he would be kind of the perfect person to go for. And basically what I did with my set list was I kind of grouped like albums together, where each section is a grouping of 2 albums, and I try to represent all of the studio albums besides that covers album.
Come on, you're not going to do Mississippi Queen?
Well, there's a little shout out to it, at least, I'll say.
Okay, all right.
Where it's at the very beginning. And I'll tell you the band right now. Of course, we have Gus G on guitar. No. We have Zakk Wylde on guitar, of course, and vocals. There will be parts where he will be doing live, dual lead vocals, because we want to give Ozzy a break. This is, we don't want to stress Ozzy out too much. He's towards the end of his career, his live career, I'll say. Yeah. And
he actually just had to cancel something today.
Yes. And I basically have this going at Wembley Stadium, just to put that picture in there. So yeah, I got Zakk Wylde on guitar, I got Blasco on bass, Adam Wakeman on rhythm guitars / keyboards, and Tommy Clufitos on drums. And there may or may not be guests. We'll have to see as the night goes. So we start off with kind of a video montage of Ozzy's career. We're going to be playing snippets of songs that you will not be hearing tonight. So we're giving them to you right now so you can at least say that you heard them. Iron Man is the first song that kind of plays. And then, as a transition from Black Sabbath into Ozzy solo, we hear Steal Away the Night playing, and then, the album cover transitions from him, being on the ground to him being in, the weird little wizard, room, and you hear Diary of a Madman play, and then it transitions into Ozzy being, a werewolf, and you hear Secret Loser, and then it goes through all the albums, and you hear Crazy Babies, and then you hear I Don't Want to Change the World, then you hear Mississippi Queen, you see Ozzy with the sunglasses and the crosses in there, and then it zooms out, and the rain's come down, and you hear Black Rain play, and then he's holding a flag and pointing, and Let It Die plays. And then it transitions into the Sideways thing and Take What You Want, which is the Post Malone song that he features on, plays there. And then it kind of opens up and you hear the dinging of a bell, and you see a graveyard opening and the fog's coming out. And we start off our first section of the concert with Ordinary Man / Patient Number 9 section. So we start with Straight to Hell. First song to open up with the All Right Now. And you got Zach, jamming out, and Ozzy's doing his best. Frog jumping as little as possible. We're trying to keep him healthy during this concert. Yeah, so we do Straight to Hell. Then we go into Patient Number 9. We're not going to have Jeff Beck out on the show right away. Okay. We're going to let Zach have his flowers for a bit. So he'll do the soloing. at this beginning part. So we go from Patient Number 9 into Parasite, which was a song that Zach featured on Patient Number 9. And then we end this part of the set list with Under the Graveyard. That's why we have the Graveyard set, is for this song. And then we kind of have a transition, and we see like a dragon Ozzy kind of like pop up out of the stage, and the Ultimate Sin starts. They start the Ultimate Sin. So Ultimate Sin plays. This is the Bark of the Moon Ultimate Sin portion of the concert. So we have the Ultimate Sin, and then we go right into Shot in the Dark, playing the two big songs from that album. And then we slow it down a little bit with You're No Different. We want to kind of have a little bit of a pacing here on this concert. But then if everybody starts getting bored, we go right into Bark at the Moon. And Zach kills it. He has a lot of pinch harmonics in this solo. So then if you're like, oh, wow, I like that we covered the Jakey Leaf portion. Who are we going to go to next? Well, we're gonna be spotlighting Mr. Zach Wild with the No Rest for the Wicked, the No Rest No More section, as I'm calling it. And we open into Miracle Man, starting us off. Great song to go into there. And then we go into Hellraiser, and we're doing the version of the song that was on the radio where they had Ozzy and Lemmy doing co-lead vocals. And we're gonna have like a video of Lemmy in the background, but we're gonna have Zach do his vocal parts so that Zach could kind of have that going. Then we go into Bloodbath in Paradise, of course. Zach with his pinch harmonics going crazy on this one. And then, of course, we end with the biggest song from this era, No More Tears. And that solo is just one of Zach's best solos, in my opinion. It's so good. So then once that happens, the rain starts coming down. And it is planned. It is not a rainstorm. It's black rain that comes down. And you hear Zach's guitar go... And then Tommy Coflettos comes in with the as I Don't Want to Stop starts playing, and then they go into Let Me Hear You Scream from Scream, and those are the only two songs from those eras because I don't know that era as much. And then we go into the next era that I don't know as much, the Osmosis Down to Earth era, where we play Junkie, kind of a slower song, but a good one. And then we play one of the best Ozzy songs of all time, Perry Mason, and end off that part of the set list. And everybody kind of goes off stage, and Ozzy comes out to the kind of the stage in the center of the crowd, and he's like, "I will do it." And he sits down at the piano, and he goes, "I don't know how to play this fucking thing. I'm gonna call someone out here that knows how to play." And Elton John comes out.
Nice!
That's why we're in England. We're in Wembley so that Elton John doesn't have far to go. And they both kind of come in and play Ordinary Man. Stripped down piano version of it. The two of them, Elton playing piano, Ozzy singing, and Elton singing along as well, doing Ordinary Man. And then Elton takes his bow graciously, gives Ozzy a nice kiss on the head, and then walks off stage. And then the rest of the band kind of comes out with acoustic instruments, and a video tribute to Randy Rhoads plays on the screen, and they do Goodbye to Romance after Zach does a little bit of D, like at the beginning there.
Right.
To kind of lead into it.
Right.
And then Ozzy, goes, "I love you!" And the lights go down, and you see kind of like a wizard's room sport, like candles come up and stuff like that, and suddenly you hear Over the Mountain starts playing. No, that's what did I sing? I sang I Don't Know. Never mind. Over the Mountain starts playing.
Okay.
Not I Don't Know. So that starts that off, and then they go into Flying High again. Oh, now here we go now. And then Blasco gets a little bit of love, starting us off with Believer, off of Diary of a Madman, and then we go into
There we go. Okay.
And I Don't Know, and then Adam Wakeman gets a little bit of a spotlight doing the opening organ keyboards for Mr. Crowley.
Okay.
Going into that, and then they end off the main set with Crazy Train, of course. Zach doing his pinch harmonic version of that riff, and they go off stage, and you hear like rain come down in the speakers and the tolling of a bell, And then suddenly the lights come on, and the band's on stage, but they're joined by two people. They're joined by Tony Iommi and Geezer Butler as Black Sabbath plays to start off the encore set. And then they go into Children of the Grave right from there. Zach and Tony doing kind of like co-leads on that. Then they go into War Pigs. And finally they end with the typical Ozzy Sabbath ender, Paranoid, as everybody takes their final bows for the Ozzy Eras tour. So what do you think of that, BB?
Wow, that's a great set list. I like how you kind of brought some of you brought the albums together, like you kind of paired them off. Because especially like the later stuff, it's not as well known like as the earlier stuff.
Yeah.
Like Patient Number 9, it's the newer one. There's so many good songs on there, but you want to play the hits.
You want to get to the good stuff that everybody knows.
But like when you do Bark of the Moon, and then you paired that with
Ultimate Sin, it just fits. Especially You're No Different. Like throwing that in there was great. Then No Rest for the Wicked and No More Tears. Really, really cool. Then how you brought in Hellraiser with Lemmy. That's really, really cool. I love the Black Rain stuff. A lot of Ozzy fans don't like the Black Rain because they were complaining it had too much of that Black Label sound to it. Yeah, very much a Zach-led album.
Yeah, it's almost like a Zach solo album, and he just has Ozzy singing on it.
Yeah,
because the whole album sounds like a Black Label album. Osmosis and Perry Mason, of course, you have to throw that in there. The iconic, probably the best Ozzy song out there, and then Elton John, I think that's fantastic, and that fits. That's you can honestly see that really happening.
Yeah,
and that'd be so cool for them to do that. Your acoustic set with giving homage to Randy Rhoads is great, especially doing D. You know what I mean? Just very touching. The Black Label set to close off the, that's. I was wondering, like, if you were when you said Ozzy, I'm like, I wonder if he's gonna bring like the Black Sabbath guys in or not. But a great way to close it, because that's where a lot 99% of the music we all listen to, that's where it all started.
Yeah,
with Black Sabbath. And the homage list here, I think you did it justice. For sure.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun to put together. Like the album groupings just made sense when I started doing it, because like you got the two Jake Ely albums, you got the two Randy Rhoads albums, you got like the two Zach like beginning albums. It just like that was like, once that clicked into place, I was like, okay, I know my structure
way to do
here.
It. Yeah.
And like I wanted to make sure to spotlight like Ozzy's band as well as Black Sabbath, because both of them are such an integral part of Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah.
That I wanted to make sure that both were kind of represented. Yeah, so that was our Eras tour. I think I would see both of these shows, for sure. Were there any songs off of my set list that you wished were played, and I could go through yours and say the same?
Yeah. Geez. I like to at least pick something, maybe a little bit like I'm like No Rest for the Wicked. Like I wish there'd be more off of that.
Yeah.
That album, 'cause I think front to back that album's so good.
I could have extended that out.
Yeah. Sure.
I wanted to make sure that Ozzy had a shorter night than a longer night.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I was like, I want to put on Mr. Tinker Train. I want to put on, Crazy Babies. I want to put,
Right.
I was just like, I gotta get, something's gotta give.
No, I think you hit it well. There's nothing that I said, oh boy. Now, if you left off like Perry Mason, I'd be like, oh my God, you didn't do Perry Mason. You know what I mean?
Well, that was the thing. Like, I was looking at Down to Earth, and I'm like, I don't really know any of these songs, and I don't want to just have Perry Mason as one song. And then...
Yeah. Then you're like, what am I going to pair it with? No. But no, I think it's you did it justice.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think you did too. I was very happy when you said DOA,
right?
Because that's such a good underrated song from number 2.
Yeah.
Did you do Beautiful Girls?
I did not.
Yeah, so that's a big one that I think my dad might have been disappointed in, but I think because you had so much material to cover with 2 versions of the band,
right?
Like there's a lot that like obviously I'm a bigger David Lee Roth Van Halen fan than Sammy Hagar, so I would have been like, cut some of the Sammy fat.
Yeah,
but like,
all right. Yeah,
you can't. Like you cannot.
And it's crazy when you like actually bring to the table like songs that you have to play in this set list.
Yeah.
Then I threw like Bottoms Up in there. That's a little bit deeper song. Hang 'em High. Mm-hmm. But pretty much like you're doing Mean Street. You're doing Unchanged. You're doing you got to do the cover hits and it was tough because I'm like, so I counted Taylor's and like, oh she goes sometimes like 40 to 43 or 44. I'm like, all right, maybe I'll do 20 and 20.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, oh, 6 albums to 4 albums. I'm like, oh boy. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
But it really, I thought it fit better than I expected.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, I think you did a better job of going just past the hits than I did.
Right.
I think I was like, there are these songs that I need to hit, and like I couldn't quite get like some of like the underrated favorites in there because of how much other stuff I had to put in.
Yeah.
So I very much appreciated you throwing in the DOAs.
Oh,
and
right.
The Hang 'em Highs. So I think you did a great job with that. Yeah. So that is our Eras Tour exploration into Van Halen and Ozzy Osbourne. Any final thoughts, BB?
No, once again, this is great. I love when it's just us two. It's I very easy. We're always doing something that we both pretty much know. The Foo Fighter, something like this. Pretty much just one of those. Sit down a half an hour and scratch some stuff on a piece of paper and call it an episode. And it's easy back and forth talking. And you don't have to worry about Steve and BC talking over them or and it's an easy edit for you now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, I love the one-on-ones here. It's so much easier, especially for you. And just great talking, crazy set lists that you will never see ever.
No, unfortunately, I think we both picked artists that it's never going to happen.
No. And
with
honestly,
you, it's the egos. With me, it's a logistic. Ozzy's not getting back on stage like that.
And honestly, you think about it, there are not many bands out there that could put up a show like this.
Yeah.
Night after night after night.
Yeah.
Do 4 nights, straight nights, and then you're off for 3 days, and you're traveling, and then you do another weekend show, and you travel. It's bonkers what she does.
Yeah.
I know Metallica, did like the weekend thing over the summer.
Yeah.
But the set list wasn't like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think this really does kind of showcase how much effort and work Taylor does put in to her show, because she's doing choreography with a lot of these things as well.
Crazy
Ozzy
dress
is not
changes.
doing choreography. Like outfit changes.
Outfits and
she's diving into the stage and all those different things. But I think that Taylor Swift has shown a very cool template that people can take if they have like a longer career like this, where they can showcase a lot of their different albums, because not everybody's going to have the same favorite album. Like with Ozzy Osbourne, you very much resonate more towards the Zakk Wylde stuff, the No Rest for the Wicked, that era. Whereas like I might be more for the Randy Rhoads stuff.
Sure.
And you want to make sure that everybody kind of has some satisfaction coming out of the concert. You don't want to just hear one album and then like maybe one song from the new album. You want to hear kind of a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And especially with Van Halen, you got 2 very different versions of the band that have 2 very different fan bases, I would say.
Sure.
And to make sure that each fan base feels heard, you kind of have to do something like that. Yeah. Or else it's just like, oh, well, I'm a little disappointed that I didn't get to hear any Sammy songs.
Yeah.
But That's just unfortunately how it is. I would love to see more bands do things like this. Like I think Kiss would be a good one that would be able to do that because they have very different eras and very different feelings on their albums.
Yeah.
They would never do it, but it would be cool if they did.
Right. Like imagine like Aerosmith.
Aerosmith was another
like
band.
1994, 95. If they did something like this.
Yes.
In their whole back catalog. Oh my God.
That was another band that I was thinking about doing that because they do have that kind of very distinct pockets of their albums that you could really kind of showcase the gamut, especially with a large catalog like that. I very much hope that Taylor kind of kicks a couple bands in the ass with this, especially with the surprise songs that she does.
Right.
Like she'll do the same set list night after night, but then she'll throw in like two songs that she just does, and that's really cool. I love when bands switch it up like that. So, that's just to say that even as hard rock and heavy metal fans, I think you could find something to appreciate with the logistics and like how she does that tour. So that's why I wanted to throw this out there as an idea, because I think that you could apply it very easily to a lot of the bands that we listen to.
Yeah.
And I would love to know out there if you have a band that you think would fit really well with this format. What would your ideal set list be? I can't wait to hear my dad and BC's ideas and also their opinions on our set list.
Sure.
I'm sure that there's going to be a lot said about the Van Hagar part of your set list, but I very much I look forward to having them back. We have some cool episodes coming up that I'm very excited about. I know we have a middle of the year episode that I'm very pumped for. Some cool albums that we're going to be talking about with there, and I'm just excited to have them home safe and have this house sounding like music 24/7 like it usually is. It's very quiet without Steve right here.
Yes, for sure.
So everybody, thank you for listening. Check us out on Spotify and everywhere you get your podcasts, and you can check out both of our set lists on the Spotify playlist of the week that will be in the show notes. I will try to put as many of the songs as possible. I think all mine are available on streaming. I'm not sure if all of yours. I don't know if Crossing Over will be.
Yeah.
But if it is, I will put it on there.
Okay.
But it's going to be in the episode itself.
That's
so
true.
We'll be able to listen to it. But everybody, until next time, take it easy, and we will see you next time. And there definitely will be a next time.